Hey there, you are listening to the Moxie podcast, and I'm your host, Jenny Nuccio, global social entrepreneur who loves to do a lot of good in this world, and best known for being the founder and CEO of the Money Collective. This show started with the simple idea of shining light on ordinary people doing courageous things in this world, and over the years has grown to be a hub of not only courageous conversations, but resources, knowledge, and connection. From topics of sustainability to leadership to, of course, a good dose of social entrepreneurship. If you're looking to grow in your knowledge, develop as a leader, and create a ripple effect of impact in this world, then welcome, Changemaker. It is time to ignite your Moxie. Welcome to the Moxie podcast. We are in a social impact series. So this is the third part of a 4-part series. Today, we are going to talk about the what. So we started with the why social impact. Last week, we talked about the who, which involves the social entrepreneur. And today we are going to talk about social enterprise, which is the vehicle in which we create our impact as social entrepreneurs. So as I'm going to backtrack a little bit in my story to give you an idea of just where I am and what got me here today. When I first started on Money Collective, it started specifically as a nonprofit. Last week when we talked about the social entrepreneur, we said the social entrepreneur is different than the entrepreneur because they start with passion themselves. They start with passion, right? They then start with a mission. They don't necessarily know all the business tendencies to create a successful and sustainable business. They are going out and they're meeting a need and they want that impact to actually be good. And then they create a model around that to bring in revenue, to bring in support or whatever that might be. It's very similar to my story. As I went into Kenya, specifically in Mtapeni village, as I met with our women and we started to build a Money Collective, it started out as a training program. It's what they intended it to be. It's what they wanted. They wanted to be trained in a skill. They wanted to be equipped with a skill so then they could provide for their family in some ways. Now, the element of this is we built this together. All of us did not have formal business training or education in that manner. And so we quickly learned that after we have a skill, what's next? Well, that's market connection. And a lot of market connection we did not have. It's something we had to create. It's something we had to build. And it's something that we had to put strategy behind. So when we're looking at social enterprise today, that is what that is. That is that vehicle that takes that thought, that impact, that mission, that drive, and puts strategy behind it so that you can be successful in the future to creating sustainable and not just sustainable, but profitable solutions that is going to have a ripple effect of change for many, many years. So what does that mean? When we're looking at enterprise, the typical bottom line of an enterprise is profit. When you're looking at a business, the typical strategy and what you're looking at is very not multifaceted. It's very one-directional. It's looking at how much profit can I make? So you're looking at your cost of goods, period, and you're looking at the profit margin, period, and you're seeing how that outputs your profit, how you can create your projections, how you can grow your business. You don't really consider any other elements but that to be successful and profit alone. But when we're looking at a social enterprise and we're, as a social entrepreneur, we're looking at all facets of our business. We are not just looking at the profit. We're looking at how we're impacting our people. We're looking at how we're impacting the planet. We're looking at the partnerships that come into play, whether that's locally sourcing or importing or whatever that might be. And we align that with our purpose. I created the 5 P's of sustainability, which we're going to sit on for a minute because I think it's the framework of what a social enterprise is built on. When I built the School of Ethical Impact, this is one of the first frameworks that we created. We knew that everyone talks about the triple bottom line. We're always talking about profit, we're always talking about people, and we're always talking about environment. We've heard this phrase over and over again. How do you engage in the triple bottom line in your business? And especially if you are in the SDG world, Sustainable Development Goal world, if you are in the ESG world, environmental sustainable goals, all these things, if you are in that world, if you speak that language, this is very common. We're talking about the triple bottom line. Now, the reality of the triple bottom line in a regular enterprise is that there will be some faults to it. It will be more challenging because if you're trying to implement the triple bottom line into an enterprise that doesn't necessarily have the social aspect of change or impact or wants to see the ripple effect of that, there's going to be challenges because at the end of the day, trying to put the triple bottom line into an only profit-driven model will not work. And so we have to understand that this is more than just a profit-driven model. This is a social enterprise that is going to drive impact for the long term and for good. So how do we do that? First and foremost, we always want to make sure in every decision we make, it's aligned with our purpose. So we'll start with purpose. Purpose is what lights you up as a social entrepreneur. Purpose is why you started what you do. And when we went to the first part of this series and we talked about social impact is driven by a why. It's driven by your purpose. That's where you are inspired. That's how you motivate. That's how you get up every day, even when it is hard. There's a purpose that underlies it. It's not just profit. You see entrepreneurs who build businesses and they build businesses to sell because their only driver is profit and to sell and to redo that again. So you'll see a lot of serial entrepreneurs out there where they build their business and then they resell it and they do it over again. And so you can be a serial entrepreneur with social impact as well. But the reality of social impact, the reality of social entrepreneur, the reality of a social enterprise is that it's driven by purpose. So we're going to start with purpose, and then we're going to move into our people, right? That second P is really important because also the reason we most likely started what we do or what we have, or maybe what we intend to start is because there's a people group involved. There's friends, there's family, there's people we really love and care for, and we want to see change in their life. It might even be us, right? We might be part of that population, that group, and we want to see change in our lives. So people are really important because it's not only who we are impacting, the benefactors of that, but they are the drive, they are the vision of that purpose. There's one phrase in the nonprofit space that we say people over profit. This is something that I've been trying to debunk over the last couple years, and I'm really, I don't know what's the word. I just get really passionate about when people say this, that we should probably avoid using this phrase more often than none, because when we say people over profit, we're putting an emphasis on people, which means then we're not paying attention to profit. And the reality is, if we don't pay attention to profit, your impact will fail in some level or in some form. And then that is going to affect your people in a negative way. So let's pay attention to our people as much as profit. And that brings me to the third P of profit. An enterprise cannot be an enterprise without profit. So yes, you have your social aspect. Yes, you have your vision. Yes, you have your why. Yes, you have your people, but you got to make some profit. You have to understand the diversification of revenue that you are bringing into your company. You have to understand where you are now, and you have to understand where you're going into the future. I want you to also, as you grow your social enterprise, if you're watching this today, whether you maybe just started, haven't started, or you're 10 years down the road, I want you to remember to celebrate the wins. As entrepreneurs as a whole, as go-getters, as whether you're a social entrepreneur or not, we set milestones and we set goals and we meet those milestones and goals, and then we continue to move forward. And we forget to see where we started to where we are today and to celebrate that. I think sometimes we get so heavy on ourselves of, man, why haven't I gotten to where I need to be right now? Time for me has been something that I've battled for so long, this control of time. If I had all the answers and all the will, we would have become a very successful business at least 5 years ago. But the nature of also building a social enterprise is that it takes time, because it's not a kind of cookie cutter formula that you're putting your business in. You have variables of culture, you have variables of supply chain, you have variables of cost of living and the people that you're trying to impact. And all of this comes into play when you're taking a holistic approach of caring for your people in your space, right? So we have purpose, we have people, we have profit. This fourth one is planet, which is one of the original elements of the triple bottom line. This might not be as important to you, but it is important. We have one planet that we live on, one space that we hold and share together. And we need to understand that every output that we make actually impacts the planet. There's a thing that is called circular economy. If you're not aware of it, I encourage you to look it up and dig deeper into the knowledge of what it means to have a circular economy. There are really good things out there that people are doing, but the reality of a really good thing is there's another side of it. In November, we're going to be kind of pulling apart some of these circular economy effects. In the Moxie podcast, we're going to be pulling apart some companies who say they're doing good and may not be. So we're going to do some case studies coming up at the Moxie podcast. But when you're looking at circular economy, I can give you one quick example. Solar panels. Solar panels are really awesome. We're implementing a solar panel in our water well in northern Turkana. So they're really, really great, but there's actually an alternative effect to solar panels in how they're produced, right? The output and the emissions and all the different elements of how a solar panel is produced actually technically has some sort of negative effect on the planet. So although long term, we're trying to be smart with our energy, we're trying to be smart with alternative solutions, especially in development spaces. The aspect of the circular economy of the production of a solar panel is not always bright and shiny, sunshine and rainbows. So to understand the whole circular economy, the CE effect of what you're doing is really important. I'll give you an example of something in our production and what we do at Amani Collective. We have a lot of waste, and anything that you produce, you're going to have waste. Even in your own personal life, you're going to have waste, right? We maybe throw away our Ziplocs, our plastics. We throw away our toothbrushes over time. We throw away the floss that goes in between our teeth. We throw away our clothes, or we give those out. That all ends up in a landfill some way, somehow. So how are we being responsible in our consumer practices? I don't say all of this to overwhelm you because we cannot be perfect. The ethical impact journey, the sustainable journey that you might be on is progress. It is always progress, and you have to start little. I like to put it as a big picture, like a pizza. We just got to start with the pepperoni first, because we can't eat that whole pizza at once. And so do what you can now to create sustainable solutions moving forward. So within our company, Amani Collective, one of my favorite things that we do with our waste and with different regenerative materials is our journals. It's something that we put out here in our gift shop that are consistently sold out. We're trying to get better at actually producing these more. But how these journals are made is we take the scrap leather we have a massive scrap pile from our leather components. We take that leather and we cut it into the outside of that journal. And then the inside of the journal, the paper is actually made from hyacinth paper. So hyacinth is a plant that actually surrounds Lake Victoria, and it sucks out all the oxygen from the water. So it's an invasive plant. It's something that is no good, but there's a lot of it. It continues to grow and grow and grow. So the reality is we need to chop this down so that the water and that the fish in the water can get the oxygen they need to survive for the whole ecosystem. So we partner with people who cut down this plant. They pulp it, and then they create paper for us. So it's a whole cycle, regenerative material for taking something invasive, something that is bad, and making it into something creative and good. It needs to be torn down. So instead of just throwing that to the wayside, we actually make it into something beautiful for you. So we take our scrap leather, we take something invasive, we put it into a journal for you to enjoy. So these are things that we can do, little things that are going to affect the planet. Do we need to create a journal? Not necessarily. It's not our biggest product, and it's not our main brand that we have at Amani Collective, but we always want to bring something to you that is telling a story and is good for the planet. And we want to continue to make sure that we are reducing waste and we're being mindful of this one planet, this one space that we live in. Another thing that we did, I'm just going to drop this and not go into depth, is we became 100% plastic free in our export. How do we do that? Maybe I'll do another short episode of that later. But there are ways that you can do really big things. You just have to be willing to take that risk. So I encourage you to explore other elements of planet and what that looks like for you. And then the last thing of a social enterprise that is really key in the social entrepreneur space is partnerships. This fifth one is one of my favorite things that we do within our company with not only our suppliers, but also our customers. When you can come at it of not being in competition with one another, but you can come at it with being in collaboration with one another, then you are going to have a different heart posture to how you approach your company. You're going to have a different heart posture of how you lead your company. You're going to want to share knowledge. You're going to want to share space with one another. You're going to want to collaborate and partner and grow together. So especially in the social enterprise space, what I've realized over the last decade plus more is it can be a really lonely space. It can be a space that we think we're trying to take on these big social justice issues and trying to make change all alone. But you're not alone. We're just not talking to each other. And year after year, I feel as if I emphasize this, man, we need to be communicating more. We need to be partnering more. And I'm starting to see light bulbs over the last couple years. I'm starting to see sparks of people coming together and partnering really, really well. And I can't wait to share more of that on the podcast. But I encourage you, if you are just starting out, please reach out. Reach out to us. We're an open book. Reach out to me. You can go to jennynuccio.com. You can go to Jenny Nuccio on Instagram. DM me. I promise you, I will respond back. One of my favorite things to do is share knowledge. We don't have secrets here. We want to see other people succeed. And guess what? I'm not in India and I'm not in South America, or I'm not in all these other spaces that you might be in, these beautiful countries that need just as much impact and just as much dignified work created. And so we shouldn't be holding those resources. We should be sharing them and allowing other people to learn and grow and partner together well. So for this third part, as a social enterprise, in order to be a social enterprise, I believe you need to encompass all those 5 Ps. You need to be looking at the full aspect, all facets of your business to be able to grow, to be able to learn, to be able to become something better and hit milestones that might seem really scary now. But if you look at every aspect of your business, if you ask those hard questions now, when you're approached with them later, they're not going to be as hard because you've already thought through that process, right? You've already set standards and your values as a company. And you want to make sure you are completely value aligned from the beginning, that you know your values as you move forward, that you know what you stand for, because one, that will not only make you continuously make you authentic, but it will bring people into your company and already build trust and credibility because you stand on values that are firm. So let's not be flaky. Let's not walk through doors that have quick wins. It's going to be a long process building a social enterprise. Statistically, it takes 8 to 10 years to build a social enterprise to be profitable. So this is the long game, and I encourage you to be patient in the process. I'm so excited that you've taken this journey, or that you're even thinking of taking this journey to meet and to combat social justice issues all around the world with an enterprise that actually can create long-term change. Business, money can be the root of transformation, not the root of evil, if your focus on it is a little bit different, right? If your focus on it is not just to build and to make as much money as you want to sell, that's still a win for others. But when you're in the social impact space, I just want to continue to encourage you, use your profit for good. The more money you make, try to give that back into your community. And together, let's just make sure we continue to share resources. As always, thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you next week. Moxie on. I love that you were able to join me today, and I'm grateful for the community at the Moxie podcast that continues to grow. To make this show even better, I would love if you could take some time to leave a review, take a screenshot of this episode, share it on your stories, and don't forget to tag the Moxie podcast. I would love to find a way to connect with you. Until next week, friends, Moxie on.